So why did President Biden give $6 billion to Iran a month before October 7th, the October 7th attack in Israel? And this evening, members of Congress are now calling for an all-out war against Iran after 3 American service members were killed and 35 total wounded. Something isn't adding up here. Something seems really, really fishy. We'll get back to that part of the story in a moment, because it turns out the United States loves putting men in harm's way in the Middle East. It's something they've been doing for years. It turns out when you illegally occupy fields in Syria or you put Americans in Iraq, even though Iraq doesn't want you there, says it's illegal, get out of our country, which they did again today, by the way.
Syria, same story.
Syria, exactly. Jordan. Something bad is eventually going to happen to these people, and that's exactly what happened, of course, last night. A spokesman for the Jordanian government. So initially, Jordan came out, the country of Jordan, and said, no, this attack where 3 American service members were killed, that didn't happen on Jordanian soil. That is not true. They have now walked that back. Jordan did confirm that it actually did happen on Jordanian soil, and it's right there at the border in a small U.S. military outpost called Tower 22. Now, this tower, interestingly, if you really dive in, you understand like what's going on here, overlooks about 15,000 Syrian refugees who are basically living in tents. It's almost like a concentration camp. You got these like American service members there in a tower in this facility, couple hundred of them, overlooking a 15,000 strong Syrian refugee camp. Why are they displaced? Why are they living in tents? Why do we need to have a tower? Why do we need to have an outpost in the middle of nowhere looking after 15,000 Syrian refugees? So these troops were killed, 25 more injured. It happened sort of in the middle of the night. And according to U.S. Central Command, these 25 service members were wounded in the attack. This is a massive attack on American forces any way you slice it. Why are they there in the first place? It's an illegal occupation of this region, Syria and Iraq and Jordan. So did these men die in vain? How do you tell the American families? Like, how do you go to the families of these servicemen who were killed or wounded? And wounded perhaps with massive concussion or, repercussions of concussion attacks that cause brain injuries that we might not even know about for a while. Well, here's how you console these families. You send in White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre to offer her condolences. I mean, these words are wise. Listen.
What I will say, our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration, of the American people. Obviously, more importantly, we lost those souls.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Feel better?
Is it that hard for her to say a gender? Like, is that what that was about? Like, we just can't say a gender because, men and women.
I don't know. She's like, you can see like the wheels spinning. Like they're fighting on behalf of who? Because they're not fighting. Do you feel safer? Like in the United States of America, do you feel safer that these men are occupying an outpost overlooking 15,000 Syrian refugees illegally in the Middle East? Like, do you feel any safer? No. I would feel safer if those 35 individuals were at the U.S. southern border and they were in a tower. I would feel safer then, actually. I don't feel safer that they're over there. In fact, they're sitting ducks. So I don't know what her wheels are spinning. That they're there to protect the Biden administration. She basically says they're there to protect the Biden administration. They're there to protect us.
Those things are mutually exclusive.
Right. Like,
no, they're protecting politicians, not the American people.
Well, this sounds a lot like, if I were to break into a shop at night after they were closed and I slip and fall and break my ankle and I sue the shop and I win and nobody ever asked me, what were you doing there to begin with?
Yeah.
Like, they're just completely ignoring the fact that we don't belong there.
Right. Exactly.
What the hell are we doing there?
But don't ask that question. And the media is not even asking that question.
That sounds allowable in American litigation.
Maybe, I don't know, but neocons certainly aren't.
It
and
is.
It's predictable, right? This response from the neocons is absolutely predictable. The response from the mainstream media is predictable. Instead of asking for a total removal of American forces from these areas, which I didn't hear any member of the mainstream media even asking these questions, by the way. Not at all. Senator Tom Cotton sending this message out. The only answer to these attacks must be devastating military retaliation against Iran's terrorist forces, both in Iran and across the Middle East. Anything less will confirm Joe Biden as a coward unworthy of being commander-in-chief. Oh, really? Okay. He's already been...
You go first, then.
Yeah. Strap on, strap up. So when you need neocons on television to confirm this attack on Iran, there's Yosemite Sam is the first person you call, former Ambassador John Bolton.
If there were ever a moment, and frankly, the moment started about 3 months ago, but if there were ever a moment now when to show American determination and take a significant step to reestablish deterrence, the president's response has to be to strike targets in Iran.
Oh, yeah, we have to. Jason Brodsky, also think tank neocon, says this: Mr. President, this crosses a line. You have to hit IRGC terrorists and hit them hard. Aim for targets that hold strategic significance for Iran's regime, not merely its proxies. Aim for the head of the octopus, not merely its tentacles.
Can we just leave that up for a second? I want to ask you, do you think that's going to get you into heaven? Putting things like that on Twitter?
When you're at the gates.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going through the review process. Mr. Brodsky, we'd like to see what you've accomplished in your life. Oh.
I advocated for killing a lot of brown people.
Yeah, you've wanted to kill a lot of innocent people.
Which would then retaliate on
I
my own people.
I know I've asked this question before, but has that helped? The U.S. has been doing this for a really, really long time. And what problem have we ever solved by doing this? I can't think of a single time we've ever done something like this and the problem was fixed.
Zero. I mean, I've made the point here about the Middle East, and any time we've attacked a country in the Middle East, it's always come back to hurt the United States. There's never been a strategic positive in us attacking any country in the Middle East.
Yes, please refer to the piece that we did on the Orlando nightclub shooting. Had nothing to do with being gay, had everything to do with retaliation for attacks in the Middle East. Please go back and watch that piece.
And even our regime changes, our sanctions, like none of that stuff that we use works for good. Like nothing helps.
No, and it's not going to. So, what is it's like the repeating something over and over and hoping for a different outcome, like the definition of insanity. And that's exactly what we continue to do, hoping for a different outcome. But we don't actually hope for a different outcome. The outcome we get is as a result of the military industrial complex being enriched. So that is the outcome they want. They don't want to have a positive impact on the world. So, all you need to do is turn to Lindsey Graham. So immediately, of course, upon this news, Lindsey Graham, Senator, South Carolina, hit Iran now, hit them hard. And then Senator John Cornyn, target Tehran.
Same question. How are you going to answer for that at the pearly gates?
So I love Tucker's response. Tucker tweeted this right afterwards. Watch. Can you see that?
F-word lunatics.
Effing lunatics, Tucker says. Exactly. And CBS is, by the way, CBS News. If you wondered where the mainstream media is in all of this, I just want you to watch this amazing piece of video that came across my desk today. CBS News cheerleading a war with Iran also. Listen to this CBS News anchor essentially saying, hey, when are you guys going to attack Iran? Like, I'm getting emotional about it. When are you guys going to have the backbone to launch a war? Come on already. Listen.
I want to follow up on this question of Iran and Iran-backed. There's no confusion from the White House's point of view about who is ultimately responsible for this, and that is the country of Iran. They're not hitting proxies of ours. They're hitting us. Are we going to hit them at last?
Again, I'm simply not going to get ahead of the president's decision space. We're not looking for a war with Iran. We're not looking for a conflict broader in the region. We're doing everything we can to try to take the tensions down.
It's bad when John Kirby wants to de-escalate.
Right, when John Kirby's like, whoa, CBS. CBS. When are we going to attack them at
finally,
last? When are we going to attack them finally at last? When are we going to do it? John Kirby's like, whoa, I'm a warmonger, but even CBS. That's like, he's like, what the What's going on over there at CBS?
Bad.
It's like CBS going full Arlo Guthrie. You're like, I want to kill. I want to kill.
Like, yeah, exactly.
God.
It's like that's what their job is. Edward R. Murrow, rolling over in his grave.
Where is your conscience, people?
So there are two reasons these war pigs want to attack Iran. Of course, one is money and one is Israel. We'll get to the Israel part in just a second here. But Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, has a long history of taking money from these defense contractors. Of course, he famously talked about, wanting them to fund him exclusively. In fact, if you read this, here's a great piece that dives deeply into all of the defense contractors that have leveled money in his back pocket over the years. The super PAC supporting the presidential campaign of Senator Lindsey Graham raised $2.9 million through the end of June. A significant portion of which came from defense contractors that stand to gain from Graham's advocacy for greater military intervention around the world and increased defense spending. He even said this publicly. This is quoting Senator Lindsey Graham. If I were a defense contractor, I'd be big time for Lindsey Graham. He's speaking of himself in the third person because I've been forward leaning on rebuilding our military.
Natalie doesn't like that.
George is getting angry. So then check out the Babylon Bee. I think this headline kind of says it all. Lindsey Graham calls on the United States to bomb every country in the world.
There's just not one that he misses.
I mean, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. He's got, his dance card is full.
So I thought it was interesting. There's a couple of pieces that have come out over the past few days, in the past few weeks, actually, about the United States stance in some of these occupied territories. And in fact, where the U.S. forces are basically left sitting there like total sitting ducks right now on purpose. Even the Biden administration knows this is true because in the New York Times did a whole piece on this where they, in fact, quoted the Biden administration. I'm just going to quote the New York Times now. The latest attack on American troops in the region over the weekend resulted in no deaths. This was like a few days ago. But President Biden and his advisors worry that it's, quote, only a matter of time. Whenever a report of strikes arrive at the White House Situation Room, officials wonder whether this will be the one that forces a more decisive retaliation and results in a broader regional war. But this is the pattern of U.S. interventionism of the past more than 2 decades. Intervention begets more intervention, then begets U.S. occupation at some far-flung outpost. Militant attack on said outpost begets greater escalation and yet more intervention. It seems the cycle never ends, perhaps by design, as the continuing legacy of the neocons GWOT, which kicked off the era of the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions. So, pretty eye-opening piece in the New York Times admitting intervention begets more intervention. And these people are sitting ducks, these American service members who are in these places waiting. Why are they there in the first place?
It's also a haunting image to think of them sitting there waiting, like, oh, did any of our guys get killed? Not yet? Okay. Like, if you think of those people as your children or people you care about, then you're like, well, let's get them out.
Yeah.
Because if we're waiting for that to happen, let's get them out first.
Where is Uncle Johnny stationed?
Who cares about Uncle Johnny?
Uncle Johnny's, 23 years old, 25 years old. He's stationed in some little outpost in Syria. What's he doing there? Is he making me safer, Mommy? Go to school. Go to school. Don't ask questions about Uncle Johnny because we can't tell you if he's making you any safer because, no, in fact, it's making it worse for you. Go ahead, David.
I have friends that were in Iraq, and the thing is, like, they indoctrinate these soldiers to think that there's this huge enemy over there, but a lot of them then came back against the war because once you get over there, you realize you're not there for the reason you were told. And so it's like they're over there, and they probably have zero idea of why, like what they're even doing.
Yes.
Right. They don't know. They don't know at all why they're there. So a full-scale attack on Iran is, of course, exactly what Israel wants. This is the other big piece of the puzzle, right? So the money is one big piece of it, why we are there, why Senator Lindsey Graham wants a full-scale war. He wants the money. He wants to enrich the military-industrial complex. The other side of it is the sycophantic relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, of course. Israel has been calling for preemptive attacks on Iran for decades. They told us as much. They told us to attack Saddam Hussein. We listened. We did exactly what they wanted. We did that on faulty intelligence, of course. Now they want us to attack Iran. Just listen to Dennis Kucinich. This was 2002 when Dennis Kucinich asked Benjamin Netanyahu in front of Congress Should we preemptively attack any other countries? What do you think?
You talked about a network of terror. Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
No, the issue is not. First of all, are there other nations that are developing nuclear weapons? Yes.
Should we launch any other preemptive attacks?
First, let me say what they are, and then let me make a suggestion how to proceed.
Thank you.
The answer is categorically yes. The two nations that are competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. So I guess that doesn't include California, but includes Washington. But what it does, a third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is, while no one is watching.
Okay.
Yeah. So just
what about the ones you have, sir? What about the ones that Israel has that we've known about since 1989?
So
did they ask that?
Yeah. So if you're keeping score at home, of those three nations he's mentioned here, how many have we already completed for him? He asked us to take out, Libya. Libya is a big concern for Israel. Check. We got that one for you. We killed Gaddafi for you. Iraq, we hung Saddam Hussein for you. So we took care of Iraq for you. So I guess the last one on the list is Iran. Like, what makes any of us sitting here thinking that that's not going to happen tonight? We do their bidding, right? So something is gonna happen, and the Biden administration tonight says that they. By the way, Iran came out this afternoon and said we had absolutely nothing to do with this attack. Believe them or not, saying we had absolutely nothing to do with this attack. 100%, we had nothing to do with this. The Biden administration says yes, you did, and we are going to attack you in some way. In our choosing. How we decide to do it, we're not going to tell you, but of course we are going to do it.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
But it's coming.
But one of these days you're going to turn around and we're going to be there.
So, you might be sitting there saying, who cares about this, whatever. You think about the American men and women who are literally sitting ducks right now being used as cannon fodder. They're sat there on purpose as targets right now. We know that this is going to escalate. We know that they're sitting there illegally in these countries. Get them out of there. Bring these people home for the love of God. Get these people home to their families and start protecting the United States on our own southern border. And let these guys are sitting there like sitting ducks right now being attacked and killed. And it's going to happen more. And the Biden administration knows it. And they're going to use this as a rallying cry, a false flag, of course, to drive us further and further into war. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.